Okay. கேக்குதா? கேக்குதா?
கேக்குது.
Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. It's sharp 3:30 p.m. IST, so we're going to start the session. We are indeed so glad that we are able to have this session today. Control Union Academy, the official training arm of Control Union, is coordinating a series of webinars of sustainable certifications, where today we are conducting the very first webinar on ocean-bound plastic, the latest certification program of Control Union certifications with the collaboration of Zero Plastic Ocean. Putting first thing first, let me introduce myself. By the means of introduction, I myself, Prabhat Ratnayaka, responsible person within Control Union for business development. I joined Control Union way back in 2008 as textile auditor and involved in sustainable textile certification since ever. So I'm glad to be the moderator and the control person for this wonderful event. Let me brief on who are the panelists and our speakers in short. Dirk Techard, Regional Manager of Control Union Asia. Dr. Binay Kumar Chaudhary, Chairman, Textile Certification of Control Union. Vincent Decap, co-founder of Zero Plastic Ocean. Tatiana Felsky, Sustainability Consultant of Peterson Projects and Solutions. Marjorie Plato, Certifier, Ocean-Bound Plastic Certification Program of Control Union, and Supun Nigamuni, General Manager of Control Union Malaysia. And again, it's me, the moderator, so throughout the session you will see me and you will hear me. Well, a couple of house rules, I would say, of the session, and this is a digital platform where we have to abide by few rules and guidelines. First of all, I request you all to remain muted, mute yourself, don't unmute, it will disturb the rest. And please switch off your webcams other than the presenters. That will help us to make a smooth session throughout this 2-hour session. Meantime, you can type all your questions in the chat box. You will find on your right hand top corner the chat box. Type all your questions here. Being the moderator, we'll try our level best to grab each and every questions you paste there during the panel discussion. So our team of experts will take all these questions. Lastly, we will have the panel discussions. We will discuss almost every questions what you have typed there. Well, the line of the day's program is on this screen. So you'll see first we'll have our welcome speech by Dirk Techer, our regional manager Asia. Then introduction to the sustainable textile certification, Dr. Binay Kumar Chaudhary. Introduction to OBP program will be conducted by Vincent Dicap from co-founder Zero Plastic Ocean. OBP certifications will be done by Tatiana Felsky. And the process of certification will be done by Marjorie Plato. Finally, Supunnika Muni will share his experience of a successful story from controlling Malaysia. Lastly, we will have our panel discussion. Again, I request you to remain with the house rules. Please mute your microphones. Please switch off your webcams. Let's have a fruitful session from here onwards. And firstly, the presenters will be introduced and you will see their profiles on the screen. Let me introduce Dirk Techer, Regional Manager of Control Union Asia. Dirk joined Control Union way back in 2000, 20 years back, and has been involved in Control Union certification related services ever since. After joining the operations in India, Dirk has been liaising with textile brands and retailers around the globe in relation to their sustainability requirement and the challenges faced by their supply chain in order to comply with the same. As the regional manager for Asia, he is still involved with a number of brands and retailers and is keeping up to date with the latest development in the textile sector and the challenges faced by it in relation to raw material sourcing, social compliance, and environmental issues specific to the Asia region. It's time to invite Dirk to address and welcome this wonderful gathering. Dirk, over to you. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Prabhat. I would like to welcome all participants and speakers to today's webinar. I must admit, I still don't really are very good at speaking to a screen. I do prefer to meet people in real life, so I hope that soon we will be back to normal and we can do that. Today we are expecting more than 200 plus people online from across the globe. I think more than 26 countries as per the initial information, and we are covering the entire industry from collectors through the entire supply chains, as well as the brands and retailers, NGOs, and other friends from the textile industry and other related industries. Control Union is part of the Peterson Group of companies, which was established back in 1920 in Rotterdam, which coincidentally makes us 100 years old this year, which we again would like to have celebrated in proper manner, but due to the current situation, that has not been possible. So we hope to be able to do that next year. We are in 80 countries with our own offices, and we have 5,000 plus colleagues across the globe. We've been involved in the textile industry for more than 20 years. It started, we've basically been involved with the brands and the retailers, trying to identify their raw material, the sustainable raw material needs. Back in when Prabhat said I've been from the 2000s, I'm actually that old that I'm even from the 1990s. So back in the late 1990s, we were collaborating with Levi's to certify the first Levi's jean, which was made out of 100% organic cotton. In those days, we were called Skull International, and the program was called Ecotex. We since then have been designing and collaborating with a lot of brands and retailers and industries participants from the industry to develop standards like GRS, the Global Recycling Standard, animal welfare standards like responsible down and responsible wool. And today we're here to talk about ocean-bound plastic. And I must admit that this is a program which is very dear to my heart because since I was a small kid, I have been spending my entire free time in or on the water. And I have seen over the last many years the negative impact plastic has had on the aquatic and marine life. And I hope that this program and with the support of the industries, that we will be able to hopefully stop or even reverse that negative impact that we have seen. And I hope that this webinar will be a start and hopefully give a lot of fruitful conversations and thoughts to how we can all collaborate and make it happen. And I will stop talking now because I think it's more important that you talk to that and they will of course be able to answer your questions. So I hope that we will have a fruitful and very interactive session, even though that it's behind the screen. So back to Prabhat. Thank you for all of you for attending. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dirk, for the warm welcome. This wonderful gathering of, like you said, 26 countries. We are expecting some more colleagues to be joined, but we'll see how soon they're going to join us. Let me introduce my next presenter, Dr. Binay Kumar Chowdhury. Dr. Binay joined Control Union way back in 2005, and currently he is working as the chairman of Control Union India operation as well as the global operation for textile. Dr. Binay has extensive knowledge on organic food and fiber, contributing his expertise in the field of sustainable textile certification worldwide. He has been awarded several national and international awards, fellowships for research, and is involved as advisor for various forums. As a certification expert, Binay has visited more than 500 farms and 1,000 textile projects related to organic as well as recycled certifications in various countries. His contribution in sustainable agriculture and textile with reference to recycle and organic is well recognized by brands and clients in India as well as across the globe. So Dr. Binay, floor is yours.
Thank you, Prabhat, for your warm welcome. Welcome to this session, and really thank the and in this pandemic time, as Dirk said, that we are not meeting together, but this kind of meeting change our ideas. If you look Control Union as such, we are 100 years old company, and
Apologize all for the inconvenience. I think Dr. Binay has some technical difficulties at the moment.
can you hear me, Prabhat?
Yes, Binay, we can hear you.
Sorry, it was disconnected for a moment because of current disruption. So Control Union started their sustainable program almost, we are 100 years old company, and we have started our journey quite last 30 years, we're more active into the sustainable world. So with the introduction of IFOAM standard in 85, we started our journey with organic cotton. The first standard on organic cotton with EU regulation in place came into 1992, and Control Union at that time was very much known as SCAL International, and those period of time we started journeying with people in Switzerland, and in 1994 we understand the need of organic in this world. It is not only the food, it is also the fiber, which is very important for the textile supply chain. We thought beyond the line that the food is also important and the fiber is also important for the human being living. With this joining in 1994 and with the introduction of Japanese regulation in 1998, in 2002 Control Union, the then called SCAL International, came into existence with a standard called eco-sustainable textile, which was revolutionized the world in a different tune because it has taken care of most of the requirements to make the organic cotton more fragile in the system. The policy of Control Union not to make any standards and rule the standards as a monopoly agent. We create the innovations and we give to standard owners, and further we see that the standards growing in the welfare of ground workers like farmers or collectors, and also in the supply chain, giving the benefit to all the stakeholders. And in 2005, when we started thinking about recycle, then the first, when we joined one of the TE conference in Seattle, then the first thought process came into mind, why the recycle will not be important for the textile supply chain. And in 2006, we have some colleagues who are innovators, and I joined with them, and we started writing GRS standard called Global Recycle Standards. And in 2008, we gave the standards to textile exchange to create further development in these standards. So today, I hope the global recycle standard is going well with the supply chain. With organic and recycle in mind, the textile supply chain is growing. We always feel that the ground stakeholders are more important for us. So we have been joining hands with various big companies that to take care of the collectors that is happening in the grounds. So from 2011 and 12 onwards, recycle has played a major role in different sectors, whether it is related to cotton, whether it is related to polyester or nylon or wool. So today this ocean-bound plastic also revolutionizes the concept of getting the plastic from the ocean, which is really a very difficult task for the world to handle over. So if you look to our Control Union innovations that, we have been joined in GOTS in 2006, and we are part with Textile Exchange in the joining of sustainability. Apart from that, Control Union has made a significant change in the sector of social development in textile industries. So we have been many more strengthening various code of conducts by making the strength to the social system. By introducing various carbon footprint, water footprint, waste footprint, we have also looked to cater the needs of various stakeholders to find out the footprints that is associated with textile food chain, whether it is be a viscose fiber or a fiber that is originated from natural origin or synthetic origin, sustainability is in place. I believe that Control Union will start innovating the process of textile certification in more sustainable way and make this world more visible and make this one more transparent to see that this sustainable standard plays a major role for our stakeholder to get this supply chain more active. We feel business is more important for us when our stakeholder earn better and have a better visibility and trust in the market, and that is our strength. We look from the ground level from the farmers and collectors, and we also go through the supply chain to meet our stakeholders and take their advice about the problems and concerns that is associated with the supply chain. So all this sustainable certification that is handled by Control Union is going with all risk analysis in the market with ground reality and look to the availability of the raw materials and consult with the various stakeholders like buyers, standard owners who can guide us to make the standard more robust and to put it more in a transparent way so that all the stakeholders enjoy the benefits of the standards in equal manner. We have a trust with our stakeholders and we believe that this team will prove this world more sustainable way to design. That's what Control Union always believe in process of sharing. I sincerely thanks all our stakeholders who have joined in our journey for last 30 years in the path of whether it is organic cotton or recycled materials that has made our journey more stable and more consistent. I also believe that the standards that we are creating now, like regenerative fibers, non-GMO, SBCOC, sustainable viscose, the sustainable fiber program with coordination with various stakeholders like textile exchange and others, ZPO and other stakeholders, and that is a proud moment to share that we believe in sharing the work as a team and we believe in sharing the thoughts with our stakeholder so that all these supply chain stakeholders will equally put the efforts to make this program sustainable. By making this, the world will become more sustainable. The carbon footprint, water footprint and waste footprint that has been associated with Control Union Peterson agencies has made a vital role to see that what is the measurement of sustainability. So we are here, we have projects and solutions in place. We think that every problems in the stakeholder is a project for Control Union. And we believe that the solution exists with the experts can be gathered with Control Union employees and sharing the knowledge with the stakeholder to find the solution to the projects is a great achievement for Control Union. I wish that the seminar will be very thoughtful and also I wish that we all will work together to start the raw material from the ground source where the teeny collectors are just with hardship taking this material either from the shore or from the beach or from a different sites nearby the collecting sites and making this world clean, and further the supply chain is taking hardship to clean these materials and segregate these materials into the supply chain, which is a great work and also a thought to clean this world in a right way. And the supply chain is taking enough care to see that the raw material that is very much clarified or cleaned in a better manner to attain the wishful and the ambitious expectation of the consumer. In this way of joining, the buyers are playing a better role and the standard owners are playing a better role to putting the standard in place. We at Control Union will connect to all our stakeholders and make this program more successful in the future. Thank you. Over to Prabhat.
Thank you, Vinay. Such a wonderful introduction about the journey of Control Union on sustainability and our contribution to the world. Thank you very much once again. Let me move with our next key presenter, Mr. Vincent Hiap, the co-founder of Zero Plastic Ocean. Vincent has more than 20 years of experience in the water and solid waste management industry. He has held various business development and managerial roles with leading industry players such as GE Water, and he is currently working as a commercial director for Suez. Vincent is also actively involved in the protection of ocean from plastic pollution. Collaborating with Race for Water in the field of plastic to energy solution, and being a co-founder of Zero Plastic Ocean, the NGO that has developed the Ocean-Bound Plastic Certification Program, aimed at incentivizing the collection of the plastic waste before it reaches to ocean. So Vincent, we are waiting for you to go ahead with the basic introduction on ocean-bound plastic. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Prabhat. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. To see the interest of people to help solve a very critical environmental issue. In this small introduction, I want to talk about three things. First, I will explain you why ocean-bound plastic. Why did we choose to develop an ocean-bound plastic program? Then we will talk a little bit about what is ocean-bound plastic. How do we define it? And finally, we will overlook some aspect of the program. So the first slide, which is the one that we have here, is about the why. I don't think I will surprise anybody here if I tell you that we have a problem with plastic management in general, plastic waste management in particular. And I don't know if you noticed, but it's quite obvious actually that most of the information, communication that we get about this problem are related to plastic in the ocean. So we have a crisis that's really focalized on one part of the problem, and it's very visible, and it is creating two things. A lot of environmental damage to marine species, that is very obvious for us to see, and a lot of emotional reaction to the plastic crisis, which is an image issue for the industry, and that also causes reaction to the way we manage the sustainability of plastic that are not always the best reaction because they are very emotional. Now, if we can see on next slide, what is a bit more surprising is that even though we don't exactly know what is the number of plastic that goes to the ocean, the estimation shows that this number is a very small portion of the global plastic production. 400 million tons per year of plastic are produced. About the same amount goes to waste every year. And we estimate that plastic in the ocean would be as much as 12 million tons, which is 3%. The surprising thing here is if an industry has an issue that is 3% of its production, they should normally be able to solve it. So that was our starting point when thinking about this program. And the way for us that a problem like this could be solved is with the right focus. So what do you mean by focus? Is focusing on what? Of course, it's ocean-bound plastic. Ocean-bound plastic is a plastic that before was on land or eventually on boats. So it is destined to go to the ocean. So every ocean plastic piece previously was ocean-bound plastic. It's a lot easier to work with plastic that is on land or that is on a boat or that is already at hand, rather than trying to get the plastic after in the ocean. So we thought that if the industry was able to have a tool to actually focus their effort on ocean-bound plastic, they should be able to solve that 3% issue. And that is why, on next slide, please, we can see that with the help of Control Union, we partnered to develop an ocean-bound plastic standard. Our idea was not to certify here a material for a supply chain or for the material to be used and create a standard. It was really to create a tool that the industries, even the can focus their action on solving that 3% problem. Now let's look a little bit on what is ocean-bound plastic exactly. There is no proper definition of ocean-bound plastic. If you look in the literature, there is not one scientific publication that especially gives you what is ocean-bound plastic. So we started by defining categories. Categories which are, you can pass to the next slide, Prabhat, please. No, sorry, not categories. I forgot that slide. So the kind of definition that we round up was actually that it is plastic which is mismanaged and it is close enough from shores or communities, so it is at risk to go into the ocean-bound plastic. There is, when I say there is no publication that defined ocean-bound plastic, there is one publication that was not meant to define ocean-bound plastic, but that has kind of been used as a reference to define what ocean-bound plastic is. And that's a publication in Science in 2015 by Jenna Jenbeck. And this publication is very famous because it's actually the one that we all use to state what is the number of tons of plastic that actually goes into the ocean. And that 8 million tons that we hear a lot comes from an average between the 4.8 to 12.7 metric ton that was defined in her publication. So she kind of coined the definition of ocean-bound plastic. Use was plastic in the 50 kilometer. Now we can go to the categories that we introduced in the standard. So we use the general definition in discussion with the industry because that's the most widely accepted. So we have a first category that is potential ocean-bound plastic that you can label as ocean-bound plastic when you make your claims. And that's the plastic in 50 kilometer and mismanaged. There's really two important words that we will see later. This is mismanaged and the 50 kilometer. We also added the possibility in the standard definition to collect some plastic very close to the land, 100 meters into the sea. This was the idea of including projects maybe done by divers. Some NGOs do that, and they try to work very close to the coast to catch a plastic really before it goes away and that we cannot catch it. But we wanted to add two other categories, especially like I told you before, the idea was to make a tool to focus. So the more you can focus precisely on the problem, the more efficient you are going to be. So we created these two additional categories. The first one is shoreline. Shoreline is going to correspond to what we would find in the common language as beach plastic, because it is really plastic collected 200 meters from the highest tide limit and 100 meters into the sea from the lowest tide limit. We sometimes have the question about the tides, if the auditor needs to go at the lowest tide in the year and the highest tide of the world, the year. That's not the case. You can provide evidence of where these tides are with pictures or with sediments on the beach. So the audit doesn't have to be that long, of course. And we have a third category, which is fairly important because a lot of plastic comes from rivers. Sometimes we read that 90% of the plastic comes from river. Actually, it's wrong. It's not 90% of the plastic. It's probably less, but a lot of plastic comes from river. So we have this category, which is 200 meters, both sides of the bank of a river and inside the river itself. We can see on the next slide a geographic representation of how these categories play. So we can see that the wider category, the 50 kilometer, will cover a lot of area. That is why it is very important that plastic that we consider ocean-bound plastic within the wide category is really mismanaged, as we will see after. We can see as well, interestingly, that the waterways category goes beyond the 50 kilometer. We don't have a limit for how far you can go, as long as you are taking the plastic on the side or inside the water body that goes into the ocean. And that is fairly logical because plastic can travel 1,000 kilometers in a river. That is why this category is not limited to the 50 kilometers. And finally, we can see the shoreline that is very close to the sea. And if we go to the next slide, we will look at what we consider mismanaged. And that is very important. This is a work that the auditor has to evidence this. So on the right side, we have recycling stations, source collection, properly managed sorting centers, properly managed landfill. All of that, even though it is within 50 kilometers, is not going to be considered OBP because that plastic is not at risk of going into the ocean. On the other side, on the left, we have very clear example of places where we have no waste management at all, or places where the waste management is significantly deficient, or places where the plastic is already in the environment, in the river or on the beach. This is like the very easy cases. We will also accept cases where you have some waste management, but it is clear that it is overflowing, collection is very irregular, or that district is served every once in a while, and it is clearly overflowing, so plastic is also at risk of going into the ocean. So that's pretty easy cases. Then we have on next slide some cases we are not so easy to differentiate, and where we have to pay a lot of attention. One case is what we call managed dump sites. In the standard, in FAQ document, we have clarified that we have 3 categories of landfill and dump sites. So we have the landfill, which is the properly managed landfill. We have the managed dump site, which is something in between. And then we have the informal dump site. So informal is a totally illegal dump site. Normally it's a lot smaller and there is nobody doing anything with the waste except people pulling it. A managed dump site, that's unfortunately what we have in most developing countries as the waste management solution. And that's the picture here on the right. So we will not allow OBP to be collected in managed dump sites. That is not a way to say that managed dump site is a good treatment solution, but it is a way to say that, honestly, if a plastic is inside a dump site, it is not going to go to the ocean. It has already been collected, it has already been taken to the dump site, and it's probably going to stay there. It might burn open air, which is terrible, but we are here not trying to solve the whole plastic issues. We are trying to solve ocean-bound plastic issues, so we have to stay clear within our boundaries. However, if this managed dump site is very close to a river or very close to the shore, like we can see on the picture on the left, we will allow collection into that dump site because there is a clear demonstration that this plastic is going into the ocean. We will allow as well collection in informal dump sites because usually they are smaller and very often people tend to put them in a creek next to a small river or next to the shore as well. So this dump site, the collection will be allowed. And then we have the second step that we allow, which is prevention. It is quite logical that, let's say, for example, you have a program that tries to encourage recycling, putting recycling station in districts where the waste is not correctly managed. It would be a shame for us to ask people to put the waste in the street or put it next to the river so it becomes OBP. So we will include programs that prevent the waste to become OBP in case that if this program was not here, then the waste would be in the environment or would be in the street. Like we saw in the slide before, a recycling station is not allowed if it is in a well-managed district, but it will be allowed if it is in the mismanaged area. And finally, that's a recent addition to the standard in people active in the recovery of fishing nets or other gears used by the fishing industry. We understood that if they did not have a recycling program that will either pay for this waste at the port or take it for free instead of having fishermen having to pay to dispose their waste, so that would be the case in more developed country, and developing country will have an incentive to pay for this waste, then there is a high risk that fishermen will simply dump it overboard when they are at sea. So we decided to add as OBP waste coming from recycling program dedicated to that industry. And finally, the last exclusion that is for plastic that is already in the ocean and that is collected voluntarily at a lot more distance than the 100 meter that we allow in our category. So everything that is ocean plastic will be excluded. Of course, if ocean plastic is coming to a beach, which happens, we will not know if plastic is on the beach, if it's ocean plastic or ocean-bound plastic, because depending on the tide, depending on the currents, this plastic can come and can go from the sea. So we will not try to make a distinction if that bottle has come from the sea. If it is on the beach, it is potentially ocean-bound plastic again, and that will be considered just in case. Now let's look at how we can collect ocean-bound plastic. What are the methods which are authorized in the standard? Next slide, Parbet, please. Next again. Thank you. So we have three options that we allow in the standard for the collection of this ocean-bound plastic. If you see the first line, you can collect with your own team, people that work directly for the organization that is getting certified. This is the easiest way to get certified because you have full control of the people that you are working with. So it will be very easy for the potential OBP category. It will be very easy for the waterways and the shoreline categories as well. Especially because in the standard, we ask that when you are collecting waterways and shoreline, because the distances from shore or the distances from rivers are very small, we are talking 200 meters, we need supervision. We need to make sure that people who are collecting this waste are really working within that narrow bandwidth. So if it's your own team, you have a team supervisor that makes sure that everybody is working there. It's the same when you have an NGO that is doing collection. It's under the supervision of one person at least from the NGO. So that's fairly easy for all categories. Actually, most of the waste is not picked by own personnel. It is picked by waste pickers. In the standard, we call waste pickers independent collectors. And if you are going to buy to independent collector directly, then for potential OBP, it is fairly easy as well. What we are going to require is that you purchase the waste at a center, which is less than 45 kilometers from the coast. So the geographical location of where you purchase the waste is the key criteria that we are going to look at when validating if it is OBP or not. And the second criteria is that this center also should be in an area or next to areas where waste pickers are working. And we expect that these areas are going to be mismanaged areas. So it's a combination of these two factors which need to be checked by auditors. Now, if you want to buy plastic waste from waste pickers and work with waterways and shoreline category, it's a little bit more complicated because you have to make sure that they were collecting the waste only next to the river and to the shore. So we will allow it if you have a technological supervision of these pickers. We know that these technologies are for the moment developing, so it is more a prevision for the future than an actual fact. Most waste pickers don't have, for the moment, a smartphone, so we cannot put an application on that smartphone that will track where they are working. So it is possible if you will give these tools to your waste pickers, but we don't expect that is going to happen a lot. So in that case, if you work with waste pickers, it's going to be very difficult for you to certify to waterways and shoreline categories. And the third way to collect that we are going to see a little bit later as well with Marjorie is through small collectors. Small collectors in the standard is people who buy from waste pickers. So sometimes they are called waste shop. It is the first level of aggregation. So you are going to buy to this aggregator, and this aggregator is going to buy to waste pickers. In that case, that is only going to be possible if you go for the potential OBP category, because otherwise we have really no track of where speakers are actually working. Okay, so that was for the second part, the definition of OBP and how to collect it. Now I want to give you an idea on what is the program composed of, what is the option. Rabat? Okay, thank you. So the program is actually two parts, two sub-programs, which cater for two value chains, the recycling value chain and the plastic neutrality value chain. We will start by the first one. This is the most obvious. When you have ocean-bound plastic, we all know that a part of this plastic can be recycled. So we'll have people collecting it, and then it goes all the way to the recycling value chain until the end user. So we have a sub-program, which is called OBP Recycling Sub-Program, that caters for that value chain. We're going to see it in detail just after. But actually what happens is most of the plastic doesn't have any value because it is too dirty, because technically it is not recyclable, or because it is too damaged. It has spent too much time in the river, for example, or too much time in the environment. So that plastic we call commercially non-recyclable. It means that you cannot sell it to a recycler for him to make a product with it. And unfortunately, this is the vast majority of the ocean-bound plastic falls in this category. 80%, 90% of it is commercially non-recyclable. So if we had only a solution for what is recyclable, what would happen if somebody goes to that river, which is in Panama, and go to collect the plastic, they will collect 10% of it. You can see the bottles here, and that's more or less what they are going to collect. If we collect 10%, we have not done our job. The environment will not make a difference if 10% is collected from 100%. So that is why we developed a program that covers plastic neutrality. Plastic neutrality is more or less like carbon neutrality. We will see a little bit how it works. It's just a lot more simple, a lot more basic. So let's start to have an overview on the recycling sub-program. Next slide, please. Next. Can you go to the next again, Prabhat? There we go. So that sub-program covers, like we were saying, from the collection until the end product. So there are several steps which are covered in the collection. It is the collection itself, that's the most important part of it, with all the criteria that we have seen before. And then some basic preparation before that plastic can actually be sold into the recycling. So this first part is covered by the OBP collection organization standard. When it goes into the recycling value chain and beyond, because the standard covers until the end user, so people using packaging, people repacking, people relabeling will also get certified to the second standard, which is the OBP Recycling Organization Standard. And with these two standards, we cover the whole value chain of recycling. Now we're going to have a quick look at the neutrality sub-program. On next slide, please. This program, as we saw in the little introduction, has very interesting features because it allows us to make a complete job from the environment. It makes a difference for wildlife, really, because we will be able, if combine the recycling sub-program and the neutrality sub-program, we can remove all the waste. It gives an opportunity to waste speakers as well to have better salaries and better living opportunities because they will be able to be more efficient when collecting everything. And finally, for brands, it is a way to support ocean protection without the technical issues of recyclability. So that is again two sub-programs. The first one is very similar to the collection. So we collect, we can have some sorting, some transport, but then we cannot sell it to any recycler. So we have to treat that waste. And there are two options here, either disposal, either valorization of the waste. Once the organization has done this collection and treatment correctly, it is allowed to make a neutralization certificate. That neutralization certificate works like a plastic credit. A plastic credit is transferred, purchased by a company producing plastic or using plastic. And that will allow this company to claim their product as ocean-bound plastic neutral. Here again, we have two standards because, of course, what we certify is very different. The first one is the OBP Neutralization Service Provider Standard for those who do the work of collecting the OBP, treating it, and emitting the neutralization certificate. And the OBP Plastic Producers and Users Standards for the company who want to claim OBP neutrality. On the next slide, I will show you a little bit how the mechanism works for the offsetting. So if you produce plastic and you want to have a product to be claimed as neutral, you need to compensate one by one. So I put 1,000 tons of plastic per year in the market. I will need to buy in credit 1,000 tons to be able to be plastic neutral and to put the claim OBP plastic neutral because we focus really on OBP only with that program. So how it works, somebody will collect, somebody will treat that waste. Once this is done, it will send evidence to control union that the work has been done. Control union will check the work and allow them to emit a neutralization certificate. We will register that neutralization certificate and publish it in our website. So every single neutralization certificate will have a unique number and will have a buyer and a seller so that there's a full traceability on the credit mechanism that no credit is sold twice to the same client or to different clients. The company will purchase that credit, offset its production, and at the end, the result that we get is that plastic has been removed from the environment, treated in a proper way, and a company is able to market its product as ocean-bound plastic neutral. The last slide is only to explain you that all the information is, of course, public, like it should be in every standard. So you can find all details about the certification document, and other information, certified companies, on obpcert.org. You can also find our contacts there, and if you have any question, need any assistance with the standard, we'll be very happy to help. And I will hand over to Prabhat again to continue this seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vincent. It was a wonderful introduction session, and for sure we're going to meet you again at the panel discussion. Now I'm going to introduce the next part of our presentation about the certification process, how it goes. Before everything, let me introduce my colleague Tatiana Felsky, sustainability consultant from Peterson Projects and Solutions, who joins us in 2019. Since 2019, she has working with Peterson Consultancy, coordinating private sustainability programs and creating new standards, as well as approach for companies aiming to be more sustainable. She is also part of international initiative TFF to improve food security around the world, and very interestingly of the Brazilian Women Group, an initiative to empower the women in the country. So Tatiana, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning, good evening, good night, good afternoon actually. Nice to meet you all. I am Tatiana, as Prabhat introduced it very well. I am based in Brazil, and I was part of the team developing the standard together with Vincent and other colleagues. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about which certification will fit and depending on the kind of organization you are. So as Vincent introduced it, we have this 4 sub-programs, let's say, 2 sub-programs for recyclable OBP that are for collection organizations and for recycling organizations. And we also have the neutralization program for non-recyclable commercially OBP, that neutralization services provider, and they stand for plastic producers and users. Please, the next one. Then how should you know which certification is the best for you? We receive a lot of questions from our clients or potential clients trying to understand if they are a collection or a recycling organization. And then for this reason, we did these slides to make it clearer. If you are collecting recyclable OBP to sell it, you can have your own team and doing the cleanup operations. You can also do buy OBP from independent collectors and also from small enterprises, as Vincent said before. You have some of the requirements to be a collection organization. One very important point is about what do you do with this OBP. Sometimes you receive application forms from organizations that are processing the plastic and want to be a collection organization because they are also collecting the plastic. But so this is very important. When you're transforming the plastic, you are not considered a collection organization anymore. Then you go to the recycling organization standard. So when you are buying or preparing the plastic, what means sorting, cleaning, packing, baling, then you can be considered an collection organization. Also, transporting the OBP is considered for collection organization. But since you start to transform it, then you will be considered a recycling organization. Now going to this one, you can trade a certified OBP, and I'm not sure if it was clear during this presentation, but when you are a recycling organization, we are certifying the whole supply chain. So you must buy an OBP certified from a collection organization. That's very, very important. If you're a recycling organization, you must have a already certified collection organization, or you need to find a new one or to help a new one to be certified. You can trade this certified OBP. You can also transform prepared or raw certified OBP into intermediate products as flakes, granules, pellets, fibers. You can also produce new products or packaging from OBP or intermediate products. And if you're using packaging made of recycled OBP, and do your own labeling, as Vincent said before, you can also be considered a recycling organization. So this slide is important, but it's also important to highlight that you don't need to have all these characteristics or do all these activities. If you're doing some of them, you already are characterized as one of these organizations. The next one, please. For the neutralization program, then we have these 2 kinds of organizations. As Vincent explained it before, we have a organization that is producing or using plastic, and another one that will collect the non-commercially recyclable OBP. That's what we are talking about in this slide. So the first standard, that is service provider, is the standard for those who are collecting this non-commercially recyclable OBP. So the next 2 requirements or characteristics that we are expecting for, no, it's not the next slide, please. You can come back. It's only the next requirements for things for the neutralization service provider. So you can, as the first one, you can have your own team and doing cleanup operations, or you can also buy independent collectors or small enterprises. But in this case, you need to treat or contract the treatment of non-recyclable OBP in an environmentally acceptable way, what we call valorization or disposal. And that's important. I mean, it doesn't make sense that someone or an organization is collecting the non-commercial OBP, recyclable OBP, and are not giving the correct disposal to it. And it maybe can come back to the environment and again doing a negative impact. So for this reason, we have this topic regarding treatment or what we call valorization or disposal of this kind of OBP. Then in the other side, we have the producers and users. What would be maybe a company that is doing this? This is what we explain in these topics. So if you're producing if you are producing products made of plastic, or if you're using plastic packaging to sell your products and you want to offset your plastic consumption, having, of course, the non-recyclable OBP removed from the environment, then you can apply for this standard. Also, if you want to declare some of your products as OBP neutral, you can also be part of this standard. So I hope it's clear the difference between them. I know that sometimes it can be a little bit confusing, but if you have questions, then next you can do it. You can write it on the chat and I will be happy to answer. Then for the next, please, Prabhat. Now I want to give you an idea about the requirements that we are asking for in this program. For sure, we have much more details in the official standard, but here it would be nice for you to understand a little bit what we are covering in each of the programs. So the first two are the programs regarding, or the sub-programs regarding recyclable OBP, and the other two is about the non-commercially recyclable OBP. We have requirements about social and ethical, what would be no child labor, fair employment, and fair payments in all of the standards. We know that this is very sensitive in the recyclable product market. Actually, in the whole market of plastic, this is very sensitive. Then for this reason, we have these requirements in all of the sub-programs. We also have some topics regarding in the environment that is about waste management and waste traceability in all of the sub-programs. Now, more about OBP in the collection organization. So for the organizations that are collecting the recyclable OBP and the non-commercially recyclable OBP, we are asking for requirements, the localization of the collection, the methods of collection, and the conditions of the plastic collected. The chain of custody, as I told you before, is a very important topic for us because this brings more security about what we are certifying, besides for sure the other topics as the environment and social. But for sure, chain of custody is very important for us. Only for the producers or users of plastic that we are not considering it. But on the day, we are only considering for them the plastic footprint. So if you're interested in offsetting, you must, and I mean, you have the requirements that I just said before, you should apply for the plastic producers and users standard. Sorry, because in this option you have the plastic footprint. And the neutralization certificates, these are the certificates emitted to the collection organizations that are collecting the non-commercially recyclable OBP. And these neutralization certificates are those who will be sold to these industries that are producing or using plastic. So this is the basic relation between them and the requirements that we have for both. The next one, Prabhat. And as Binay explained it in the beginning, we were one of the responsibles for GRS creation, the standard GRS. And we have a lot of clients that are already certified GRS or that are very interested in the standard. For this reason, we decided to create this slide because as we don't have a lot of standards regarding recyclable products, it can be a little bit confusing. So that's why I will explain you a little bit the differences between them. So for the GRS, we are considering as product recyclable material. But for OBP, we are only considering OBP, ocean-bound plastic, as Vincent said before, what is considered OBP. And it can be recyclable or recyclable, as I just told you. And the supply chain. I think this is one of the most important points because for GRS, we are only thinking about downstream. And for OBP, we are also thinking about upstream, what would be the requirements regarding collection. And for sure, the now downstream with the recycling, and we have this plus that is the neutralization. So it's very important when you're thinking about applying to OBP is really track your whole supply chain until upstream and the focus. So for GRS, we have a strong focus in environmental and social requirements, chemical restrictions, and chain of custody. For OBP, we also have requirements about social and environmental aspects, but it's not that that strong, that heavy as we have for GRS. Sure, if you apply for OBP, you need to follow some rules regarding social and environmental aspects, but not that much as in GRS. So if you're already certified as GRS, you can be calm regarding these requirements. And for sure, we have a strong focus on chain of custody in OBP, I would say more than we have for GRS. So these are the most important differences between them. And for sure, if you have more questions, please just let me know after the presentation, and we can explain a little bit better about everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tatiana. It was a wonderful session, very fruitful session. And now, again, I want to go ahead with the new area, which is, of course, applicable to the certification. So let me introduce Marjorie Plato, the certifier of ocean-bound plastic of Control Union. Marjorie, she's an environmental engineer with a postgraduate in production engineering. So she is experienced in solid waste management and coordination in safety, health, and environment. Currently, Marjorie is the responsible person for social, textile, and recycling audit protocols, including implementations and certifications of the ocean-bound plastic. So, Marjorie, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone. So I will talk a little bit about the certification process. I will start speaking about the supply chain, hoping clarify the supply chain certification during the application, because it covers typical supply chains incurred at the beginning of the OBP sourcing. So it is collecting or close to collection at this stage of the supply chain. Multi-site actors often informal play a key role. The OBP recycling sub-program has been conceived to cover the collection step actually and inclusively while respecting the quality and traceability required. Well, here we talk about the models and the straightforward with usually a formal certified buyer and a formal certified seller. So next, please. So here we have a bit an introduction. So we have the OBP recycling sub programs cover two types organization, for collection organization and recycling organization. For collection organization, companies are any type of organization that is doing the collection OBP. It's possible you be a recycling one and has this collection part. Recycling organization components doing the recycling of OBP until the final product. We will see some examples in ahead. So recycling organization must purchase its OBP from a certified collection organization or other certified recycling organization, depend of the position in the value chain. So the collection organizations purchase to recycling one, and the recycling follow the process to another recycling process. So if at the beginning of a specific supply chain there is no certified collection organization to supply certified OBP, the recycling organization may also act as collection organization and collect or purchase OBP, as shown in the following page. In the case, the same organization is issue in the, are you seeing? It's like, oh, now it's up here. Okay, so one organization collections and one's recycling organization. Next, please. Okay, here we have a case description. So the description is collection organization may collect direct or by two street pickers, an independent collector, or by two aggregators, small collector. So in scenario A, the collection organization is collecting itself the material it needs and or by it's directed to waste picks. In scenario B, collection organization is buying plastic waste directly from a small waste groups, small collector from the supplier group. So they became a supplier group with these small collections and the independent ones. So they are integrated. So collection and purchasing must be respecting the geographic requirements in the OBP. So next one, please. So here it's clear that it can't be two aggregators, two supplier groups under one collection organization, because a collection organization cannot buy from aggregators by themselves to other aggregator. In this case, the second level aggregator must certify themselves, so they need apply separately. So we have two collection organizations to apply the collection standard. Next, please. So here I will talk about the multi-site certification. I hope to clarify this a bit because we have many structures in different scope and process. So the organization is collecting and process OBP in different sites. So collection organization, there is a OBP purchasing facility, sorting OBP, that's OBP sorting facility, and a regional HQ and a purchasing facility or a trader. So this is an align to collection standard and multi-site different locals. And example 2, the organization is training OBP and processing it from the multiple entities. So the recycling organization will be responsible one we need one system to be ahead in this group. So OBP purchase entity unit in a country in different location for A, the OBP purchase entity unit B, the OBP selling entity in location C or the another country. So they are in different locals, but that is ahead in the group. So when an organization has several facilities involved with OBP, and all facilities use the same quality, they need to use the same quality management system, a multi-site certification can be done instead of certifying each site individually. Next, please. Okay, here I will talk a little bit about the certification process. So we start with an application form. So the first step is application submissions. Usually contact our local office, and the local office send you application form to give us some information to our quotation and offer you a contract under your scope. We need to measure the days where the altitude will need. So we have a few information to get it. So application form, of course, we'll have many doubles. You'll be in contact with the commercial part in the local office. The local office will the application form to approve this scope. If there is some information missing, we will advise them. Then they will send you an offer and the contract. After approve this offer letter and the signed contract, you will the audit company will prepare the documentation. Will send you an audit plan. They will schedule the audit part with the CVs. Will schedule the audit date. Then during the inspection, the auditing, that will visit your organization, see your company, your process. We'll take some interviews with to verify the social part. So there is interview with the employers. Then the auditor will write the report. If there is some corrective actions with no conformities, you have to provide the actions to close it, to get in conformity with the standards, will be in compliance. And then you have the scope certification, certification approved, and we will share the report and the certification with the Vicent. We to update the data in ZPO. And next, please. Here I have some examples about the application form. This is a simple information that we need to know. So according to your scope, you are applying. So type of scope, if you are single site, multi-site, or supplier group, according the standards our colleagues talked here. Which standards is applied for collection, recycling, neutralization, and the plastic producers. Of course, you may apply for more than one. You can be a recycling and a collection standards and the collection neutralization. You can apply more than one. Unit or units number. You need to write. If you have only one unit or you have more than one, you need to list them to know if it is multi-site or if you're a supplier group under collection organization. Collection standards has supplier group. We need know numbers of the employees in your unit, in your organization. List the process activity. Example, if you are a recycling organization in a textile, for example, you may list we have the dyeing, we have I don't know, you can list the process that you have there, segregate the products, and define category of OBP. So for collection and neutralization in neutrality standards, especially, you need to inform if you are applying for potential, waterways, shoreline, or all ones, as Vincent said before about the location you are. So we need to check this and where and what you are applying. Okay, next please. Here I will talk a bit the common errors. We have some mistakes when the people are filling the application form, and this information is really important to our measure the audit. So I will start, and the first talk it's about the list of products. I know someone's it's already certified in GRS, so probably you know the importance of list of products. It is listed in application, so we need to list which products you are purchased. So here in the example, there is a dye polyester yarn. In another column, that is a specific plastic group. So as is a yarn, it's a recycling organization, so it's OBP recycled. Type of the plastic can be a polyester, polyethylene, PET. There is many kind of ones, so you can put that. And product type, yarn. So we know there is some pellets, flakes, not necessarily yarn. For example, this is textile, but we have many kind of products, so you can put here. And the OBP category, so this one applier for potassium one, and the percentage of OBP in the product. So we need to know what is the composition of this yarn. So this yarn is 60% OBP. So in the next talk, I will talk about, sorry, can you back just to finish here. So in the second point, I will specific information about the applicable to each standard. So in the collection standard, as our colleagues already talking about, we need to know the location where this OBP is collected from. So here in the example, there is a Volga river. So it's a river. We can't measure how long it will take. So we need to know the coordinate and tell us the number of sites OBP is collected. So on a beach, for example, you may have one beach through collection that have three sites collecting OBP. In this one, there is five sites collection OBP in this Volga review, and of course the geographic coordinate to know where is it. So, and the last point is the recycling standard, OBP suppliers data. We need to know where the OBP is from. So the question is, are you going to collect yourself all the OBP? You will be following the requirements of the collection organization standard? Yes or no? We know we have some case recycling organization have some contract part with individual collection or supplier group. Then you may apply for both standards and will be responsible for collection part and the recycling one. So you will fill yes, and you will be applying for both stuff. But if you only are recycling, I'm only a textile industry as an example. The organization product is a yarn, only this, or yarn or fabric. You will select no, and we need to know where it's coming from, these OBP. So we need to know the name of the OBP supplier, from who you are buying this product. So you need your collection organization, I don't know, A, or I'm buying from a recycling organization B, and we need to make sure if they are certified also, because it's traceability. If not, if you are in contact with someone it's also interested in the certification, they need to have a out to be forwarding you. Okay, I think is it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Marjorie. It was very informative because that will be the key part again when it comes to the certification. So I'm sure the participants will have more questions surely in the coming session as well as coming months. So thank you very much once again, Marjorie.
Thank you.
Last but not least, I'd like to invite my colleague, Supun Nigamani, General Manager of Control in Malaysia, an accomplished forestry and environmentalist specialist with over 12 years experience in compliance auditing, training, certifications, program management, and environmental assessment. Supun is currently responsible for the management certifications of Control in Malaysia and heads the management team of Control in Malaysia, a global leader in sustainability assurance in agriculture industry and many other sectors. So Supun, the floor is yours. Over to you to describe the practical experience you had getting the world first OBP certified client in Asia. Supun, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Prabhat, and thank you very much all for tuning up to this very informative session. I think you must have been listening to all the other speakers, and I think at the time you must be very well aware of what the scheme is all about. And let me share some experience from my side in terms to giving you insight to what went through in getting the world's first OBP certified company certified. So Control Union Malaysia and myself specifically as the lead auditor, we were very fortunate in conducting the world's first OBP certification audit. This was done back in July 2020, and then eventually the client was awarded certification in August for ocean-bound plastics. And just to give a brief introduction about the company, Heng Hiap Industries, it's a Malaysian homegrown recycling company, which has been one of the frontiers in the Malaysian industry and also in Southeast Asia when it comes to recycling ocean-bound plastics and also the other types of plastics. And this certification, once the certification was awarded, it was very much highlighted in the local media in Malaysia and across Southeast Asia and also across the world. Prabhat, maybe to the next slide, please. Yeah, just explaining the scope of the audit. The audit was conducted by 3 competent auditors of Control Union certifications, which are independent from the organization Heng Hiap Industries, which is very important because end of the day, what we want to provide is a credible assurance towards the certification process. And this was not an easy audit. This was a quite complicated audit because the company is not just a recycler, but the company is having their in-house mechanism in terms of collection of ocean-bound plastic as well. As you know, there are 2 standards, the collection standard and recycling standard. This company specifically was audited for both collection and recycling standard. And this was not only for OBP, one particular OBP category, but we managed, the company was successfully audited for all 3 OBP categories: potential, waterways, as well as shoreline. And the Heng Hiap Industries, when it comes to collection, the collection sites, their mobile collectors and their own operations was also evaluated, and they were also collecting from various locations around Johor, the southern part of Malaysia, from Sungai Laut coastline to the Zar shoreline, the waterways, and the other potential OBP collection sites, covering an area of 50 kilometers coastline at Johor State. And they have their own recycling unit, which is Heng Hiap Industries, which is located in Pasir Kudang, which has a manufacturing capacity of 6,000 metric tons per year. And they average convert about 70,000 metric tons of plastic scraps into recycled plastic. Just giving you some insights into how the collection is done. As Vincent explained earlier, you know, in collection there are various ways to collect. There are small independent collectors. There are small companies, and it can be done under you as well. In ocean-bound plastic, the potential OBP is generally considered as the least category, which is the generic ocean-bound plastic category. However, when you go to higher claims, which is shoreline and waterways, it's very important to ensure and give a credible assurance that the plastic is actually coming from shorelines, coming from, these are from actually not managed plastic waste. These are mismanaged plastic waste. So that's why it's very difficult to control this particular process, especially when you are occupying third parties, middlemen, in terms of collection. But this company at this stage is having their own collection system, assisted with the employees, volunteers, and the other well-wishers, and which is managed directly under the supervision of the organization's representatives in terms of collection of ocean-bound plastics. So as you can see, they work with a lot of fishing communities and a lot of local communities, and the restaurants as well, not to throw the plastic waste generating from their livelihoods to the ocean, but to collect it to centralized locations and transport back to the company for collection and recycling. It's not only working with the villages, but also doing their own collection setups, camps. They are going once a week, sometimes once in a month, to particular locations, taking the accurate geotags and taking the volume records of how much was collected from which side and who has actually been the collector. So that ensures the traceability of the particular setup, so which is very important in terms of giving a credible claim. It's not only shoreline collection, but also if you move into the next slide, the company is also occupied with waterways collection, which they collect 200 meters either side of the banks in selected places where they have identified there is potential wastewater, waterways plastic is actually being accumulated. So this is also done through the same mechanism, because it's a value-added category. It's done through their own operations by using their own staff, volunteers, but any which way and directly under the supervision of the company. It's not only the higher categories, but they also work with a lot of independent collectors and small collectors. As the previous speakers explained, independent collectors is where there are individuals who collect maximum up to 200 kilograms of plastic waste per day, and small collectors, it can go up to 400 metric tons in terms of collection capacity. So so it's very important. The most important thing when it comes to working with freelancers, outsourced personnel, is to ensure that these are mismanaged plastics. So in this particular area, certain areas were actually managed, certain areas was not managed. So in the area of mismanaged, so they have to provide credible assurance to us through their internal audits, through their training, through their capacity building activities, and through their monitoring regimes, that this is actually collection of mismanaged plastics. Prabhat, next please. Yeah, so collection part is the most difficult part. I think most of you are aware about the recycling operations. So recycling, it's very similar to GRS. So you have to ensure that the traceability is being met. Once you get it through your washing, through your separation activities, through your recycling activities, clear segregation is actually being maintained. As Vincent mentioned earlier, most of the ocean-bound plastic is non-recyclable. So this company, Hiap Industries, is a champion in the field. Basically, they have, for non-recyclable plastics, they have their own pyrolysis plant, which they create pyrolysis oil, which can be used for as biofuel coming from the plastic, because they are closing the loop in terms of no waste being sent out from the facility, and the facility is being maintained as a zero discharge facility. And they manufacture these resins and pellets in the recycling process. During the audit, so this is actually the Tanjung Balau beach, which is close to Singapore and also not that far away from Indonesia. This entire beach during our audit visit was full from plastic waste, not coming from Malaysia. The plastic waste was actually from Indonesia. So it's very important for us to understand that ocean plastics has no borders. And it's very important that all the brands take this as a responsibility in driving the extended producer responsibility initiatives, what we call EPR initiatives, throughout all the brands. And we see the bigger brands like Coca-Cola, Nestle's, they have committed to ERP. Even the electronic companies, they have committed to ERP. It's not just manufacturing a product and selling a product. It's also monitoring the life cycle and buying back. We see the EPR initiatives, especially in the textile industry, which you all are involved in. There are a lot of initiatives, if you take H&M to Levi's, that give the used clothes back. So it's very important that in terms of material usage, resource scarcity, so it's very important to have an extended producer responsibility. So while brands has to go for EPR initiative, we have seen a lot of news where it's a business case as well. Ocean-bound plastic itself is a business case. So we see where bags are now being manufactured from ocean-bound plastics. Water bottles are being manufactured from ocean plastic, as well as even the watchmakers are going for ocean-bound plastic. And there are new ventures like Next Wave Plastics, which is the first global network for ocean-bound plastic supply chains, which multiple brands, which is well-known brands like Dell, General Motors, HP, IKEA, have all pledged in terms of coming together and addressing this 3% issue to block this 80% of the plastic going from the land to the ocean. And not only the brands which should move into EPR initiatives, it's each and every one of us responsibility to ensure that no plastic enters the ocean. It's for us, it's for our children, it's for the entire earth. Is OBP the solution to ocean plastics? It may not be the solution for ocean plastic, but it is a credible solution to controlling this particular issue, ocean-bound plastic. Why? Because we are not considering on the ocean plastic, we are considering on the ocean-bound plastic, which is well within our responsibilities, our capacities. If we all act together, ensure that this ocean-bound plastic is bound to ocean, but it's captured and recycled in a way. And the scheme itself, it's not just for collectors, not just for recyclers, but also institutions. If you want to go for if you buy some plastic products, if you want to neutral the claim by offsetting it to ocean-bound plastic collection activities, the program is developed in a way to give a credible solution in terms of traceability, transparency, and providing a closed loop system in addressing this issue. And as Control Union, we are very happy to be a part in this process. And with sustainability at heart, we dare to care. Thank you very much, Prabhat.
Such a lovely experience you shared, Supun. I would say I really love the comment you made. The plastic waste has no border. Indeed, such a nice comment. And by saying that, we want to open the discussion, the panel discussion with all the presenters. And thank you very much, all the presenters, to make such a wonderful, brilliant, informative session here. And from the audience, I'd like from you all to type your questions, or in case if you want to talk, you can raise your hand and then we can unmute you to go ahead with the discussion. Well, by saying that, my colleague will open the questions so far we have from the panel discussion. Thank you very much, Hilary, for opening this. And before go ahead I think I'd like to have one question from Vincent. How this concept, what made you to bring this concept, Vincent?
Well, the motivation for doing this program, you are asking, well, why did we do that?
Exactly.
Well, I guess it's, I guess being a surfer helps. I mean, being in the ocean is something that I enjoy as well in my free time. I also live pretty close to the beach, so I see it every day polluted. Every day when I go to my office, I can see refrigerators, plastic bottles, and all of it. So I have a constant motivation to try to help as a solution for this problem.
Interesting. I think you find a loophole here. Like in the industry, for the time being, we have a standard. We have a couple of standards which cover the concept of recycling. But I think here you focus a little bit one step ahead of that. Am I right?
Yes, correctly. I mean, this is one of the questions that we have seen here. What is the difference between GRS and OBP? GRS will give you a traceability of your recycled product, whatever they are. Our focus really with OBP is on the collection, so that we are sure of what type of recycled plastic goes into the supply chain afterwards. Then, of course, we have the traceability, as we explained, but the key focus, the most important standard here, are the one at the origin. So either the neutralization standard if you are going for neutrality sub-program, either the collection standard if you are going for the recycling sub-program.
Thanks, Vincent. That's interesting. Supun, now you share one practical experience of being the world first, bringing the world first ocean-bound plastic certified company to the world. What is their current status? What is their demand for them to having this certification? How the demand from the brands to have these OBP certifications with them?
Hi, Prabhat. Yeah, the thing is, at the moment, they are getting a very good response because being the first, and they're very good with marketing as well. So they have also been quite pushing the particular agenda of marketing ocean-bound plastics. That's why I was saying they're even going to the extent of producing pyrolysis oil out of ocean-bound plastic. So they are going into that level, and it has been well received from much of the international brands which is around. And this is I would say it's actually quite positive. And just to let you know, this audit that we conducted in July was also witnessed by WWF Malaysia. So WWF is also having programs to ensure into, they have their own plastic initiative, they have their own APR initiative. So the key officials, the directors of those programs actually was also part during the audit witnessing. So there's quite a lot of buzz with this achievement in the Southeast Asian region, and the company is making very good inroads.
Interesting. I think, Dr. Binay, you are being in the industry and you are being involved with the sustainable certification, as well as who played a key role of bringing the recycle standard under control union way back in 2008. You see, Dr. Vinay, in 2019, I would say that was the year we as certification body who had the highest number of demand for recycle certification from the brands. So, I mean, I would say almost every brand want to go ahead with the recycle certification, whereas sometimes it came to my mind, do we have enough raw material to claim this? I mean, that was somewhat question came to my mind. So will that be a challenge, Vinay?
See, when we started the GRS version, and that was a big challenge, I told that GRS was confined to polyester, cotton, and woolen and nylon. So this four was more concentrated into that. So when you look into the cotton sector, the post-consumer waste, which is coming from the consumers, and most of the brands are going to collect from the consumers and giving discounts at the stores. And also we also found that in ASEAN region, most of the garments are getting reused several times, but not coming into textile supply chain again. So there was a challenge initially with the cotton, that is post-consumer waste. However, there is enough waste that we could found at the pre-consumer stage where cutting waste. The challenge was with cutting waste that the blend percentage of the cutting waste was not known. Sometimes it is cotton, sometimes it's mixed with polyester. And that was a challenge, but however the testing laboratories was very efficient to describe that how much cotton it contains, how much polyester it has been blended. Then coming to plastic, and plastic was a good notion actually how it started. So PET bottles after 1998, a lot of people are using mineral water for drinking in various regions, and there are a lot of concern on the plastic. This has given a big momentum. So a lot of big companies came into actions to make this plastic to usable means in terms of fiber, which is from PET bottle, that was more popular. I think that is the most vicious circle of collections and making it to the fibers based on our requirement, and that is plentifully available now. From 2014 onwards, there are systematic efforts by big companies to work on the recycled plastics. Regarding the woolen materials, we have seen that countries like China, Korea, and Japan, a lot of US, they are also recycling the woolen materials, and this woolen materials is quite efficient to do the recycling process. Though the amount is quite small or moderate, but still there is a chance that people can get the recycled material back from the woolen materials. We have very limited chance to work with nylon, which is from the fishing net, and there we feel that the fishermen, they are recycling their own nets for longer time. However, still this is going to make a challenging task for all of us to see that how the nylon material is coming into the supply chain. And you will be happy to know that we are also going, to the extent of to find the recycled metals. So recycle zinc, recycle copper, recycle gold. So these will be a very challenging stuff for the future. And our efforts to bring this recycled material into the supply of certification chain will continue. Thank you, Prabhat.
Yeah, Binay, one more question here. Like, see, it is true that it's a kind of a challenge. And do you think brands will gonna pick the ocean-bound plastic program as well? I mean, we have seen such a big demand for GRS, RCS, and do you think will it be same in the future?
See, ocean-bound plastic is having its own importance. If you look to that, how much plastics are floating in the ocean, and a recent report on the microplastic that is going to the food chain with respect to marine fish or marine ecosystem, and the biodiversity that is going to be damaged is enormous. And if you plastics that is going to the ocean or river base, is actually very, thoughtful process for all of us. So as a global challenge, this has got a very big importance. And you must have seen that, when we started with talking about the shoe that has been brought first in the ocean plastic, this was eye opener for all of us. So I'm sure that this ocean bound plastic is going to open the minds of consumer, minds of collectors, minds of buyers, and make this water system, ecosystem clean in future.
Thank you very much, Vinay, for sharing your experience, your vast experience for last many years within the certification cycle. Probably, Vincent, you may answer these questions from the chat box here. We have a question asking, what is the mechanism of what is the classification of these type of plastics based on the collections? How they're going to claim the product based on the classification of that?
It depends. The organization.
I think we have some technical connection issue. Till we get back to Vincent, probably Tatiana or Marjorie can get this question. Like we have a question from the industry asking whether being a garmenting unit, whether they also need to be certified or not, or else their fabric supplier or at least the yarn supplier can be certified, and is that enough to go ahead with the certification?
Sorry, Prabhat, I didn't understand your question. I lost you for a moment. Can you repeat, please?
The question is this, like we have the supply chain. So the question, the whole supply chain needs to be certified or not? For example, the yarn manufacturer is certified, fabric is certified. Will that be enough by not certifying the garmenting unit?
Yeah, so the whole supply chain must be certified. Usually it depends of the industry and of the company itself, because sometimes it is the same company that have different industries, but down the same company, and sometimes it's not. It's like a subcontraction of some services. So it depends exactly how is the dynamic of the company and of the supply chain. But what it is important to think about is we need to assure that we know from where this OBP is coming from until where it goes in the end. So every step you have in your supply chain must be certified, of course, in different ways. I mean, you don't need to certify it. For example, if a company is only receiving the final product and want to sell it, but is not doing any transformation or even labeling the product, this company don't need to be certified. But all companies that are doing some changes in the product or trying to labeling it, then this company needs to be certified. But yeah, it's if the people who has this question wants to contact us to understand exactly how is his or her supply chain, then we can give more details.
Thanks, Tari. Okay, Vincent, you're back.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry for that. It's just cut. For the type of plastic or the classification, I am not 100% sure what the person asking but the certification will cover all types of plastic, so we are not excluding any type of plastic. And then depending on what you are trying to sell, you may classify them differently. You could use the 7 types which are commonly used, or you can use other ways. Depending on how you are marketing this product, it could be simply mixed OBP plastic if that's the only way that you sell it, or it could be polyethylene, polypropylene, or any other material, depending on what you are doing.
Also, I think adding to the same question, maybe let me a little bit clarify that. If I understood correctly, the questions what they ask, let's say they have a different type of collections. As per the explanation you had, there are three major categories. So they have all three categories. And then what is the mechanism at the time of the claiming product? How they're going to label it? Can they label as one, or they want to separately mention it? For example, we have such two categories for recycle certification like GRS, pre-consumer or post-consumer, more or less same way.
Okay, so if you have different category of OBP, they need to be segregated in your collection supply chain, so you don't mix shoreline with waterways with OBP. And there is no option for you to make a mass balance or something like that. We don't accept mass balance at the collection level. It has to be segregation. So each category should be segregated and should be sold separately and claimed separately.
Thanks. I think that's clear for the other question as well, because there's another question. Let's say they have the GRS certified as well, OBP certified. So in a nutshell, they have to maintain proper chain of custody. Correct?
Yes, correctly. You cannot assume that what is GRS and then put your OBP product within a GRS supply chain and say that at the end you have OBP. You will need to get the two certification. There are a lot of similarities for the chain of custody, especially on both programs. So when you get audited, if you already have GRS, it's going to be a lot easier and faster for the auditor to audit your supply chain, but there are differences in the standards, especially because we focus on the material, so you need both certification.
Thanks, Vincent. Meantime, Hilary.
Prabhat, if I may add to that. So if we say for a particular company, they collect it ocean, shorelines, waterways, potential OBP separately, but in the production process, it was mixed. So in that sense, it's like any other chain of custody program, you have to go to the lowest claim. Because here, in terms of waterways and shorelines, they are collected the more value-added OBP categories. But if it is mixed, then it will be considered as potential ocean-bound plastic.
Correct.
Thanks, Supun, for adding that. Hilary, go for the next slide. We have a couple of more questions and 5 minutes more to complete. Hilary, please go to the next slide. All right, I think some questions already answered. We are into the textile manufacturing. So which certification shall be applicable for us?
That's the recycling standard.
Can you please repeat, Vincent?
It will be for the recycling standard because you are not in the collection, so you are anywhere in the value chain after the collection. So you will go for the recycling standard.
And just to add something, you also need to buy from a certified OBP collection organization.
Thanks, Tati. And I think we already answered whether can we mix GRS and OBP root plastic mixed each other. So in that case, as Vincent mentioned, we have to be very clear. Both the certification has to be granted at the time of the claiming. So they have to decide which program to be claimed. Vincent, am I right?
Yes, this is correct. Yes, sorry.
Yep. Thanks. Well, I think first three questions almost there, but regarding the social compliance criteria, Tati, can you please add what sort of topics we added under social compliance? I can assure that you added the fair wages, the child labors, and what else?
Yeah, so we have legal compliance. Then the company must be following the national laws and requirements about their operations. Sure, child labor, fair conditions, fair working conditions. So it must be aligned with the ILO Convention, the 29. And the workers must be paid at least with the minimum legal wages. This question about pickers sometimes with less than 18 years old is tricky, but we should first follow the rules, the national law. Then if it's possible to work with this age and with this kind of work, what is very relevant to, then it is okay. What we have as a restriction in the standard is about being less than 14 years old. Then that's definitely not allowed. But in different countries, there are the conception of light and heavy work, and which age is possible to do these different activities. So if the company is aligned with the national rules regarding it, then it's okay, it's fine. Vincent, do you have something to add on it? I think that's all about the social.
No, this is correct. The criteria correct. Thank you.
Thanks, Tari. Next slide, Hilary. So interesting question. Suppose there's a city that currently has the collection system established, but the waste is dumped in a dump site, which comes within 50 kilometers range from the shoreline. If I do collection in the city and recover in my material recovery facility, can I apply for OBP certification? Very interesting question.
Yes, and it's a very common case. The answer is yes and no. The answer is no if your justification for OBP is because the waste is going to a dump site. Because like I explained before, we will not allow the collection in a dump site. So if you justify that you're doing source collection because the waste goes to a dump site, that is not going to be the right justification. The answer is yes, if you justify that this plastic is OBP because it is mismanaged. So in your city, there are probably districts which are well managed and districts which are not properly managed. So as long as you work in the districts which are not properly managed, it doesn't mean that there is no waste collection. There can be a waste collection, but it's not up to a good standard and we can find waste scattered in the streets. Then it is going to be okay for you to apply for that part of your supply chain for OBP. You may recover material that is OBP and material that is not OBP, and you may segregate these both supplies within your recycling facility and then sell OBP product and normal recycled products.
Thanks, Vincent. The next question is not much clear to me, but let me, if someone clear, how much expected per year OBP? I'm not sure whether it's asking about the validity of the certification or some other.
What is the volume of actually OBP waste expected?
For now, the OBP market is small because this is the first time there is a third-party certification for OBP. So that is a growing market. There is a lot of potential because there's a lot of plastic going into the ocean. So we have potential for 1 million tons. But we see that currently the market is growing. The supply chain are being put in place as more and more people are getting certified. So we hope to have volume of OBP growing very quickly to the tens of thousands of tons per year to the hundreds of thousands tons per year probably next year.
So next question directly related to control union. What to do if the organization cannot provide the certificate within 6 to 8 weeks? Of course, 6 to 8 weeks. Let me, on behalf of Marjorie, Marjorie can answer here, or else I might add something from my end.
Well, this is about the audit, right? So from the audit, probably if the organization has a non-conformity, it's not according with the requirements, the standards, they have a time to close out the NCs. So they need to provide it, or the organization want to be certified on time, so we need to be re-audited again. So it's a time within to get the certification.
It's somewhat challenging. Somewhat challenging, and the answer, I mean, situation can be very depend on case by case. But being certification body, we have to be in line with the accreditation criteria. So of course, if you are not in line with that, in the sense that applicable to our accreditation as well. So I think we answer to Peter, somewhat challenging, but let's try our best to meet the timeline. And I guess we already answered the next question about the classification. So Hilary, you can go to the next slide, please. I think we have some more, couple of more questions, not exceeding time more than 5 minutes. Hilary, can you please go to the next slide? All right, very interesting question. How does a certified organization with two similar standards avoid to count the mass twice?
That actually cannot happen. If you are certified to the two similar standards that we have, could be the neutralization on the collection side and the proper collection standard for the recycling. But we will only contabilize plastic that is sold to the recycling under the recycling sub-program, and plastic treated and sold as neutralization under the other program. But it's not the same plastic, because one can be sold, the other not. So the justification would be, if you sold this plastic, it goes into the recycling sub-program. If you were not able to sell it and you had to pay to treat it, then you are liable to apply for the neutralization standard. So there is no way that you can sell your OBP twice using a neutralization certificate, a credit, and selling it to a recycler.
Thanks, Vincent. I think
Prabhat, if I may add to that, so I think the question is also related to, because there are multiple schemes in recycling field. I think the question may also be related to, if a particular company is certified against multiple standards, what is the mechanism to prevent the ocean-bound plastic or the recycled plastic being the same volume being traded under two programs. So that comes into the credibility of the auditor setup. So that's why, as third-party auditors, we are there to ensure that this double counting is not happening. So when the auditors goes to the field and when they check the mass balance, we are checking from the collection records to the production records to the sales records. And when we are selecting a sample, because auditing is all about sampling, when you are selecting a sample, especially in chain of custody audits, our sample has to be representative. So when we are taking representative samples, so our sample includes what the customer normally declares to us as certified, as well as what the customer sometimes not declares to us as certified. So we take an overall sales update and then check the certified volume as well as the part of the non-certified volume, to ensure and to give a credible assurance that there are no double claims being placed. Just to give an experience sharing from our first audit for ocean-bound plastic, the same client is one of our clients for GRS as well. So they are also certified for global recycling standard. So because OBP for them at the moment is a value-added category. So it's not just pre-consumer, post-consumer, but it's also ocean-bound plastic, which at itself carries a value. So what they are doing is ocean-bound plastic, they're maintaining it very separate because it goes into value-added production. But in the same time, the plastic which is not considered as ocean-bound plastic is being sold under GRS. But clear traceability records are being maintained from the collection to the final output and the sales.
Thank you, Supun, your inputs, and I think you answer the next question as well. What is the main financial benefit of OBP? Of course, that's what, as you explained, and also Dr. Binay explained his session as well, how the brands demanding this, and being, of course, being a human, what you can do to the nature and to the environment, to save the earth, to keep the soil alive. So I think that's all what we can do, being the people in the industry. And one more question here: any propaganda program to stop putting in the ocean, do not pollute ocean and river? It's a little bit tricky question, I guess, to answer.
Well, not really. If you take this problem, there are many people trying to solve that problem, and I think everybody has a role to play. Our role was to give a tool for the industry to focus on that specific problem. We do not see our role to do propaganda and program. There are a lot of NGO who are specialized in advocacy who do that very well. So this is not going to be our key focus. Of course, we are hoping that soon there is no market for us and for Control Union. I'm sorry, guys, for this ocean-bound plastic. This is not a market that is supposed to be sustainable in the long-term future, and hopefully it will die in 10 years. It means we will have achieved our goal, and then we will have only recycled material, but we will not have ocean-bound plastic anymore.
Interesting. Everybody has a role to play. I like that term, Vincent. Everybody, of course, has a role to play. So let's try our level best to play our role at our maximum. And for the last question, I think we already answered. The whole supply chain has to be certified. So I would say we all, with 8 minutes passing the time, we are passing the planned scheduled time period. So therefore, it's time to wind up the session. So on behalf of Control Union and Control Union Academy and also Zero Plastic Ocean, I'd like to thank you very much for the trust you kept on Control Union Academy and our series of webinars, as well as the interest you put on ocean-bound plastic certifications. Also, on behalf of Control Union Academy, I'd like to thank Vincent, the co-founder of Zero Plastic Ocean, to accept our invitation and join here as a guest speaker. And it was really valuable inputs for you, not only for the external parties, but believe me, being the certification body, your input was very important for us as well. Life means learn is forever. So I think we learn a lot. And last but not least, all my presenters, Dr. Binay, Tatiana, Supun, and Marjorie, thank you very much for your valuable inputs, as well as my colleagues in Sri Lanka, Hilary, who's coordinating everything from here in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, all colleagues, for all the effort. And as Vincent said, everybody has a role to play. And as Supun said, there's no boundary for the plastic waste. So let's try our level best to survive the nature and give the best input from our end. So again, thank you very much, everybody, and looking forward to meet you once again with another wonderful session like this. Thank you very much.